Welcome back to the Activist Training Lab video course. Today we're going to talk about crafting campaign stories to help you explain your campaign in a concise and compelling way and get people on board. To reiterate what I just said, a campaign story is a 30 to 60 second pitch that explains your campaign, and you'll use your campaign story constantly. When you're knocking on doors or collecting petition signatures, you'll use your campaign story to explain quickly what your campaign is about and why people should support it. When you're doing a TV, radio, or news interview, you'll probably use your campaign story to craft your quotes and sound bites. You can start volunteer meetings with your campaign story to remind people why the issue matters and what the goal of the campaign is. When your volunteers write letters to the editor, you can give them a copy of the campaign story to build their letters around. If a passerby stops by a protest to ask what it's about, you can tell them the campaign story and encourage them to join. There's so many different uses for a campaign story. I'm sure that different organizers have very different ways of composing campaign stories, but I'm very partial to a particular format, and I'll share that order with you now. So I like to tell my campaign stories like this, starting with an introduction, seconded by talking about the issue, then the campaign goal, and then finishing with urgency. So the introduction is all about who you are and who your organization is, so just introducing yourself and your organization. In the issue portion of the story, you talk about what the issue is and why people should be concerned about it. In the goal and vision part of the story, you talk about what the goal of your campaign is and how that goal would address this issue and also lead to a better future for people in the community. And then finally, you finish off with urgency, which is why is this issue urgent right now at this time, or why is it particularly relevant to the people that you're talking to or addressing? To show you an example of using this format, I'm going to share the campaign story from a campaign I worked on in 2019 to remove the lower Snake River dams on the Snake River in Washington state to protect salmon and orca. So here's the story. My name is Sarah, and I'm with the Endangered Species Coalition. We're a national organization that protects vulnerable species. For decades, 4 dams in the lower Snake River have been injuring and killing Chinook salmon. The dams also prevent salmon from migrating to and from the ocean. Also, one of our most cherished species, the southern resident orca, depends on the Chinook salmon for food. With less and less salmon surviving the dams, the orcas are also struggling to find enough to eat. A coalition of scientists, environmental groups, and Salish Sea tribal nations agree that our best chance to restore salmon and protect orcas is to breach the lower Snake River dams. We need our senators, Cantwell and Murray, to fight to take these dams down in the next 5 years. Only 73 southern resident orcas remain. We have to take action before the Chinook salmon and the southern resident orca become extinct forever. We used that story all throughout our campaign in 2019, so dozens of volunteers knocked on doors during this campaign, and we used that story to explain to people why we were at their door and asking them to sign a petition calling on Senators Cantwell and Murray to support dam removal. We also used the campaign story to give quick presentations to college classes and clubs about the campaign, and at the end of the story, we would pass around a sign-up sheet and ask students to sign up to volunteer for the campaign. And finally, we held community meetings about salmon and orca, and we would start the meetings by sharing a longer version of this campaign story. So those are a few ways we used it in the day-to-day operations of the Orca Salmon campaign. Just a few final tips for you about writing campaign stories. My first tip is to be concise. You really want to keep these stories short, only 30 to 60 seconds, and focus on the information that's most important. My second tip is to be clear. Your story should be easy to understand, it should be accessible. Someone who has never heard anything about the issue or your campaign should be able to listen to your story once and understand what you're talking about. And my third and final tip is to write multiple drafts. You want to edit this story, you want to edit it again, you want to maybe test it out on people who don't know anything about a campaign and get their feedback, and then edit it again. Because you're going to use this story so much, and also because it needs to be so short and clear, you want to edit and edit and edit until it's really tight. I hope that this video is helpful in crafting your campaign story. I do want to make a longer series of videos in the future exploring more concepts of messaging, narrative building, and storytelling, but I don't have time for that right now, so I hope that this video is enough to get you started. if you're actively working on a campaign. So please remember, subscribe to our channel or visit our website for more Activist Training Lab content, and I hope to see you next time.